Hi, my name is Casey Aguinaldo. I'm a clinical psychology doctorate student at the California School of Professional Psychology in San Diego. And today I'll be talking a little bit about self as context in acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. This concept can be a little tricky to explain using, words alone. So we'll practice some exercises later to help you get a sense of just what I mean. But to start, in ACT, there are two different kinds of self. First, there's the thinking self. So the thinking self is all of the thoughts, images, feelings, and so forth that your mind produces. Like most people, the end result of your mind weaving all these different threads together, the thoughts, images, feelings, the outcome of that is a coherent story uh, about yourself that your mind interprets as, literally the essence of who you are. And these can be many different things that we relate and incorporate into our self identity. They can be thoughts like, I am good, or I am a student, or I am awkward, or I do not like cucumbers, and so on. Secondly, and this is the part that might be new to a lot of people, is this idea of an observing self. Think of the last time that you saw a sunset. You weren't actively thinking about that sunset, you know, trying to critique it, thinking to yourself, oh, this needs more red or purple or orange. You were just simply observing the sunset for what it was. This is the idea of the observing self. It's always there. Even as you're listening to me right now, part of you is just listening, just simply aware of what I'm saying. All the thoughts that the thinking mind has, that changes over time. But the observing mind, the observing self, it's always there with us. You might be thinking to yourself, oh, that's nonsense. Casey, what on earth are you talking about? I really could be doing something better with my 15 minutes than watching this silly video. And first off, it is absolutely okay to be confused at first. I know I was when I was first learning all about this. Um, and if you're confused or if you think this doesn't make any sense, I want to ask you this. While you're having all of those thoughts right now, what part of you is noticing those thoughts? I'm confused. This is stupid. What part of you is noticing those thoughts as they're happening right now? The psychologists that wrote the first textbook on ACT, Stephen Hayes, Kelly Wilson, and Kirk Strausel, they have a great way of explaining this idea that I'd like to share and that I think is really helpful in kind of getting a sense of what I'm talking about. So what I want you to do is I want you to think of your life as a chessboard that just extends out infinitely in all directions, and it's got these different colored pieces that work together in teams like they do in chess. You can think of your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs as chess pieces that are grouped together too. The good pieces, they all hang out with the other good pieces and good memories, and same thing goes for the bad pieces too. Maybe there's a particular belief that you have that's really important to you, like the belief that I am a good person. That could be like the king chess piece, one of the most important in the entire game. And you have to fight to protect this belief from the bad pieces that seem to just want nothing more than to put your king chess piece of believing that you're a good person in checkmate, to take it out. Now, these two sides are seemingly always at war with each other, and our problem solving minds have a perfectly understandable solution to this. And it's that we need to eliminate the bad pieces so that the good chess pieces can reign supreme. For example, if we want to believe that we're self confident and in control of our anxiety, our good chess pieces would go about trying to knock down enough of the bad chess pieces like anxiety or nervousness. And once they're completely exterminated, that's how we finally win this war. Now, these attempts to knock down these feelings of anxiety, these bad chess pieces in this war, they take many different forms. You, like a lot of other people, might have tried to get rid of your anxiety by doing things like drinking alcohol or thinking positive thoughts or by avoiding anxiety provoking situations. Usually, though, while these battlefield tactics may work in the short term, over the long run, they usually don't eradicate our anxiety. And in fact, they actually tend to make it worse. And this seemingly endless war with our difficult thoughts and feelings continues to rage on. But now I want you to pause the video and just take a couple moments, maybe 15 or 20 seconds, and think about this. If I were to tell you that you weren't the chess pieces, and who would you be in this metaphor? Now, the first thing that might come to your mind is that you are the player. And yeah, this is a pretty reasonable guess, sure. But the thing is, the player has a really major investment in how this game of chess turns out. And this game goes on and on and on until you die. I'd imagine that, your own experience has shown that fighting this war as if it was a matter of life and death until you literally die can come at a very substantial cost. Your time, your limited, finite time and energy that get diverted away from living the kind of life that you want to live during your short, transient life on this planet. It's pushed away from doing what you want, and it's devoted to fighting this never-ending war. So no, we are not the player either. Instead, I invite you to think of it like this. Think of yourself as the chessboard. The board is what holds, what contains all the pieces. What would happen if we just took the chessboard away? The pieces wouldn't have much of a purpose if it weren't for the chessboard. And it doesn't really matter that much to the chessboard how the actual game of chess being played upon it turns out. Like the chessboard, your mind is simply just the container for your thoughts and feelings, both good and bad. And additionally, as the chessboard is literally touching all the pieces on the board at any time, but still remains a separate entity in and of itself, your mind or your observing self can be in direct, intimate contact with a thought or a feeling, good or bad, and yet still at the same time, it remains fundamentally different from what is thought or felt at any given moment. As I mentioned earlier, this is difficult to explain using words alone, even if the chessboard metaphor can be really helpful to some people. But this concept makes the most sense when we really kind of directly experience it. And there's this great exercise created by Dr. Russ Harris, and he has a lot of great resources about ACT in general, and I'll attach the link to his website at the end of this presentation. But this exercise will take a few minutes, so I want you to get comfortable and close your eyes. Or if you don't want to close your eyes, you can focus your gaze on the blue dot in the next slide. So just take those couple moments and find a comfortable spot and maybe just take a couple deep breaths in through your nose and out through the mouth. Now I want you to notice, where are your thoughts? Where do they seem to be located? Above you, behind you, in front of you, to one side or the other? And notice the form of these thoughts. Are they pictures, words, or sounds? Now, just notice that there are two separate processes going on here. There's a process of thinking. Your mind is throwing up all sorts of words and pictures. And there's also a process of noticing. There's a part of you that's noticing all of these thoughts. Now, think about this. If you can notice your thoughts, then you cannot be your thoughts. Take a few moments to notice the part of you that is noticing this realization. These thoughts are a part of you, and there's so much more to you than these thoughts. Your thoughts change constantly. Sometimes they're true, sometimes they're false, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, and so on. But the part of you that notices these thoughts, it does not change. And when you were a child, your thoughts were so very different than they are today. But the you who noticed these thoughts as a child is the same you that notices them as an adult. Now, I don't expect that your mind will agree with what I'm saying. In fact, it might be the case that your mind will debate, analyze, attack, intellectualize whatever I say. See if you can just let those thoughts come and go like passing cars or leaves on a stream. And I really want you to engage in the exercise, no matter how hard your mind tries to pull you out of it. Now, I want you to notice your body sitting in the chair. And now, bring your attention to the part of you that is there, noticing it. Now, this isn't the same body you had as a baby, as a child, or as a teenager, and you may have had things added or removed from it. Now there may be scars and wrinkles and moles and blemishes there now. But the part of you that notices your body never changes. And as a child, when you looked in the mirror, your reflection was very different than it is today. But the you who could notice your reflection back then is the same you that notices your reflection today. Now, take a couple deep breaths, and I just want you to bring your attention slowly back into the room. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. So what was that like? Often, it's an experience that can't really be put into words. It's one that must literally be experienced directly. So I encourage you to take a moment and pause the video and mull over some of these questions. What did it feel like? Did you notice anything different? Did you notice more of the observer self or the thinking self? And here are some of the main takeaways that, as we get to the end of this presentation, that are the most important things to remember. First, the observing self that we talk about in ACT is something that is always there with us, and it helps us create distance from what our thinking self is doing and the uncomfortable thoughts and feelings that it might throw at us from time to time. When we get in touch with this observing self, it doesn't mean that we're making these thoughts and feelings go away. If that happens, that's nice, but it's not the point. The important thing, the main point, is to remind us that these thoughts and feelings, when we're having it, whether they're good or bad, they don't define who we are. They're not us. They're products of us, and we, like the leaves on a stream, are just able to notice them. Well, hopefully this video helped you learn a little bit more about what we mean by self as context in ACT. If you'd like to learn more, there are a lot of great resources on the web about ACT from Dr. Russ Harris and Dr. Stephen Hayes. I'd encourage you to check them out. They have books, TED Talks, YouTube videos, a lot of other great stuff on their websites. Anyways, I hope this presentation was of use to you, and be well.